And good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is wherever you happen to be in the world, whether or not you're watching live or a replay on this, either on YouTube or on Facebook. My name is Scott, and with me today is the author of Hope for the Flowers, Trina Paulus. And you've been a busy person, haven't you, Trina?
Hi, Scott. And I don't know how this girl from Ohio ever got involved in all these things that it seems a lot of backstories through these 92 years have been coming up and are so relevant to these very difficult situations that we're in today.
Yeah.
First with
We-
Korea and becoming embraced by the Korean community, both in Korea itself and here now locally, to be working for Korea unification and for stopping the dumping of all this toxic uh, nuclear waste from the Fukushima explosions into the Pacific, working with them for those things. And here I am. That's because it was in this Hope for the Flowers was in the school system. It's really stripe and yellow that have gone around the world like this. I'm the latecomer. All of a sudden, I feel that Scott Stripe and Yellow just took care of themselves beautifully. They didn't need me at all to be a face. But now I'm also a face, which is a little strange for me. It's not what I'm used to at all, Scott. I'm the one who made stone carvings and sculptures in the basement and took a year to make my big Abraham and Isaac story. This is this is very different. So thank you, Scott, for supporting this effort. We're just experimenting during these 15-minute broadcasts.
Well, you have such a background, and from my point of view, the underlying ideas and philosophies, your experienced life experiences, all of those things give us an insight into maybe a better world. And I don't know if it's because other people have been encouraging you or if you felt a pull from the inside, but you've, especially recently, reinvigorated some of your activism, haven't you?
Well, yes. I mean, this whole thing with Korea is fresh. And now I worked in Egypt. I would help develop a women's cooperative in the south of Egypt that did beautiful work and is still going. Can you imagine? It was the work we started was in the early 60s and it's still going now. How many years that has that been? Not many development programs, and there's no foreigners there. It was totally done with the girls with such mutual learning from each other. I learned so much from these girls. I learned whatever Arabic I know from them. And I helped encourage them and just said things like bishwish, be careful, or helwa, beautiful, when they did their embroideries. You don't have to, when you're working with the arts, you don't have to use a lot of language. You just, a big smile and a few words pretty well encourages people.
So, do you have anything to report from either the last week or what you're planning on doing in the next week or so?
Oh, I'm, this next week is next week. uh, no, I want to report on this past week. It's been very full. I was on the power hour that the Jewish Voice for Peace have most days. I did not go to their big rally, which was the largest rally of Jewish people in Washington ever. Working for what I like about it, I like being with these Jewish women who are so loving and kind and welcome this Catholic ally and other people. Anybody can join them. And they've been working for justice for the Palestinians and being Jewish and loving their Jewish faith. And so I feel it's such a good balanced place to be for them. And I also am active with New Jersey Peace Action. And we had a wonderful annual meeting on Saturday. And the head of the whole National Peace Action was there and gave a beautiful, kind, loving talk too. And I think maybe I should go right into one of the things that moved me so deeply. That goes back into one of my earlier unexpected things. Uh, when I was 28, I was doing a brochure for my Grail International Movement for raising money. And I ended up, for the first time since I was like 6, when I was one night overnight in New York and remember looking down at from the hotel when I was a child, seeing all those little teeny cars down below and just thinking of how high we were and everything. Well, this was the first time in my adult life I've been back to New York, and I was in Brooklyn, so I had to take the subway into the city, and then I went to this place that was doing promotion, and it was Wednesday, and when we finished what the work we were doing, they said, "Well, you want to go up to the visual tower?" So I went up to the top of the Empire State Building and looked down, and it's amazing when you haven't been to New York to experience New York. And then they said, "Well, today's a matinee day. You could go to a play." And I had heard about Raisin in the Sun as a play. So I said, "Well, do you have tickets for Raisin in the Sun?" And they said, "Yes." And there I was in the center of right near the stage where Ruby Dee and Ossie Davis were doing this magnificent play. I was all alone. That's a strange thing to experience that. And I was so moved after the play. I just sat there. And the man came up to sweep up and get ready for the evening performance. And he saw me there. He says, "Would you like to go back to the dressing room of Ruby Dee and Ossie Davis?" Well, so I went back, and I had been doing drawings of people on the subway, and I gave them some, and we talked, and Ruby was sewing up her skirt for the evening performance. And so I met these two great, great heroes. If you don't know who they are, you can look them up. And Ossie Davis has this magnificent low voice, and he's narrated a whole bunch of things. So this play had the final words, which were also spoken by the head of Peace Action USA. And it says a lot about the situation that we are in with the Israeli-Arab Gaza situation right now. So I want to read it to us. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat? Or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load. Or does it explode? I think that says a lot about the present situation over there. Everybody's suffering. Everybody's suffering. And if we don't go back into history and go back into our backgrounds, we won't understand. This struggle did not happen starting October 7th. It's been going on for 70 years. So I don't want to say more about that right now. But I was involved with this and kept close watch over the 15 times that the people of Gaza were bombed and hurt very badly. And this is the worst, of course, that's ever been. And I just hope calmer minds prevail and that there isn't just a green light put on what is now called now genocide. If you take away food and water and electricity and put people out into the desert again, never to return to their homes, or not having homes to return to, I don't know what you call that. I hope that ground invasion does not happen. And that's where we're at the moment. And so we need to pray. One thing to say that Wednesday was a day of prayer called by the Pope and other religious leaders around the world, the Patriarch of Jerusalem, prayer and fasting. And I did fast on Wednesday. I usually just do that on Ash Wednesday and Good Friday, but I fasted on water that day. And I thought, I at least have water, don't I? So it's been a very powerful week for me. And I so appreciate being on this Jewish Voice for Peace and being part of Peace Action and the privileges that I have. And the privileges that I have of working for Hope for the Flowers, because it's such a peace book. It's about peace. Don't crawl over others to get to a top. become your full, beautiful self. And then you can fly and carry the love of one flower to another and drink their sweet nectar and recognize how beautiful they are, even though they're different than you. So this is such a wonderful message that I feel so privileged to be its shepherd all these years. It's really Stripe and Yellow who have gotten around the world like they have. So I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for my life and being part of this and being given that book. And we're looking, by the way, for people who feel really called to help with, because at 92, I have to realize that I'm not going to live forever, but Hope will live lots longer than I will. Stripe and Yellow will be around lots longer than Trina. So I'm looking to see how we carry on and what kind of packages we make to keep it going and what kind of people will join in that effort. So if you at all feel called to that, get in touch with me personally. And I think, Scott, that do we put an email up on the screen, or how do people get in touch if they want to?
Sure. So the easiest and the best and most reliable way, if you happen to have read Hope for the Flowers and were moved by it, or if you've never even heard of it before, but you happen to tune in for whatever reason, visit hopefortheflowers.com, see what's there. There's an opportunity for you to be able to join the Facebook community of people, like-minded people. And there's also a contact form there where you can write to Trina directly and maybe perhaps express some of your opinions. Have you had experiences with the book Hope for the Flowers? Do you have special skills that you're called to put to a good cause and possibly become a member of the Hope for the Flowers team? So that's hopefortheflowers.com. With
Right.
that, go ahead,
And
Trina.
well, right now, that's all volunteer, because although in a way this is very successful, the book is around the world. It's reached so many languages and people, but it doesn't mean that I'm rich. I'm not, so I can't pay anybody a salary for anything. I can cover some of the out of pocket expenses. So we are looking for a way to make things work for us for that small way. And I know that's just one of so many things that are calling for your attention as we try to get through this life and your own lives and help the people in distress. And so sort of that's, I think, my political agenda. It's pretty busy this week, and so how it is for next week, I don't know. But um, I'm not basically been a political person, folks. Just know that it's not my cup of tea. I was there teaching, helping girls learn. I didn't have to teach them how to embroidery. Other people could do that, but to encourage them to make their images of their own life in the middle of Egypt, in Akhmim, Egypt. You can look up Akhmim, Egypt, and the girls' club, and there's some things online. I'm not sure the exact address of that, but you can see some of the girls that I worked with and some of the videos about this. And we worked with Muslim and Christian girls, and we were Catholics in the midst of Orthodox, and it was 1/3 Christian and 2/3 Muslim, which is a rather high Christian population. And there's, of course, there's in Israel, there's Christians and Jews and Muslims. And by the way, when I was in Egypt in 1966 and 67, there was no Jewish problem there. There were no Jews in Akhmim because it was really a small ancient city. But in Cairo, we have Jewish friends who it was shortly after that war of 1967 when I was evacuated that they end up going to Paris, because all these wars and things, that's what made the separation. We're all children of God, and we're all, and Jews and Christians and Muslims are all claim Abraham as their spiritual father. So so this is an unnecessary division. And so it's all mixed up with politics now, and it's so sad.
One of the things that we have is a very special video that was recorded within the last month, and it shows a couple of things. One is your deep involvement with butterflies, and the other is a little bit of the history that you have. And one of the things that we'll be doing after this broadcast is putting a link to that video in the comments below. So if you'd like a little bit more in terms of learning about Trina and seeing a little bit behind the scenes, that would be a very fun video for you to watch. And then every week we are here at the very same time, 2 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time.
2:30, 2:30,
Oh,
Scott.
I'm sorry, 2:30. Our production meeting starts at 2 o'clock, and then it's 2:30. 2 o'clock for us and 2:30 for the live audience. Thanks for the correction. So you can always tune in then there for what we're doing and what really Trina doing on a week-to-week basis. Any
What
final comments, Trina?
what was so beautiful about that video that you're putting up, Scott, is that my friend Paulette is she's really I'm called the butterfly lady in Montclair, but she's really the one. Her butterflies, these monarchs, she got some at this farm before Mother's Day, and she came over to my surprise after I released my last of 3 little butterflies that all came. I've raised 1,000 sometimes, but only 3 this year. It's been a very hard year. And so Paulette comes over with about 8 of them, and she releases them. And when I got the first edit back, it was so beautiful. There was a big screen that says "Butterflies for Peace." Thank you, Scott. Scott did this. So between Paulette and Scott, it was wonderful. So we glad to put that up sometime. Glad to put up for you. And it says a lot about peace and hope and joy to think about the butterflies. They don't have any walls separating them. They can fly over those walls.
And they don't recognize any borders.
That's right.
Well, thank you so, Trina. It's always a pleasure and a privilege to see you and to hear what you have to say. I learn something new every time we talk like this, and I'm looking forward to next week.
Well, thank you, Scott. Without you, I don't think I could do it. Thank you.
Well, we make a good team. Bye bye.